Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. And I wanted to start this episode with a little hot take. If followers paid our bills as business owners, we'd probably be all set, right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about why followers aren't leads. Some of those vanity metrics, and we've talked about vanity metrics before, but it's been a hot minute, so I'm bringing them back. And I want to kind of help us as business owners getting out of that comparison trap. And I'm going to do a whole other episode on the comparison trap, but today specifically, I'm going to talk about followers and engagement. And I have a very kind of personal story here to share because, we all get in our head. And I recently told a client, because, they've been trying to grow their account and it's growing a little bit slower than they'd like, but it's growing consistently, like whatever. There are some, especially service-based businesses, that are just really hard to attract followers to. And I say that because, for instance, if you're a divorce attorney, who wants to follow a divorce attorney? Probably not me, because I don't want my husband to know. If I'm following a divorce attorney, then I'm thinking about divorce, right? I am not thinking about divorce. For the record, my husband, I love my husband very, very much. However, he has often given me side eye when I'm searching for content ideas and just seeing what's trending in that space. So we need to kind of get out of our heads that followers, likes, views, comments, that all these things, yes, they matter, but they matter in a very insignificant kind of way. And that's why we call them vanity metrics, right? So when we think about vanity metrics, we think about those things. So what actually does matter? Well, I recently had to say to a client, the things that really matter is how much is your phone ringing? Are you getting plenty of consults? Is your email list growing? Are you getting referrals? These are things that are actually going to move the needle to your revenue. And sometimes they're hard to track and hard to associate with social media. Sometimes, especially if you're a service-based industry, it's not always a one-for-one kind of ROI. Unless you have a solid lead tracking machine. And most businesses that I've worked with don't. And I'm talking about this because it's mostly as a self-reminder, right? Even I and I kind of mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I was going to start weaving in more of my kind of anecdotes on the campaign trail because campaigning and marketing are not so different, let me tell you. I digress. But, we all kind of get, and this is where I say, it's the comparison trap, right? Because we all look at our competitors and, I do that as a candidate, I do that as a social media manager, and oftentimes, we spiral and we think, am I behind? Do I need to do more? Am I doing something wrong? What's not clicking here? And I say that because, I have candidates even in my same party who I look at and I'm just God, why do they have so many more comments on their content than I do? And these are not elected officials. Elected officials typically do get more engagement, although, I look at some of the elected officials that I'm running against and I'm 90% of those comments ain't from in district, girlfriend. That's just me. That was on a recent post because, we all look, and I'm not going to deny it. This is my job. This is my livelihood. But also, they are my elected officials. So I'm going to peek in on what they're doing because they still represent me, even though I'm running to take their seats. So when I get into this headspace of God, I'm not doing enough, or God, what's not working, what's not clicking, why does she have so many more comments than me, or why does he have more followers, blah, 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 blah. It's time to reframe that. And I think we as business owners need to do this a lot more. One, likes are not leads. Followers are not clients. For me, when I think about the campaign and everything, comments are not always voters. Engagement does not always equal support. Some of that engagement ain't good. And visibility, you can post all you want on social media, but if you're not out in the community, what are you even doing? visibility is not the same as action. So tying it back to that marketing mindset that we as business owners need to have is comments do not equal clients, likes don't equal leads, and followers also not clients, not always leads. Like when I started my account, like the people that liked my Instagram page in the early days, and I have a whole other episode coming up about how hard it is to build something from scratch. Those aren't my ideal clients. I'm dropping the mic. I have my little mic. I was gonna do. This is my sidebar for today because I know you all love a sidebar. I have had the hardest time just finding the time to record. So right now it's Monday night. I'm probably a few days late with this episode to my podcast editor, and I apologize deeply for that. Love you, Liz. But I was going to record it after my husband and my son left for Scouts. And so I was like, okay, well, I got to eat dinner, and God, I got to pick him up at 8:30. So I only really have an hour and a half. Am I going to be able to fit this in? Answer, yes. Yes, I did. Yes, I am. But I brought down my usual mic that I bring on site with clients, although the fuzzy part definitely gets taken by my cats. I don't know why they love the little fuzzy part of my mobile microphone, my USB microphone that I use on my phone when I'm recording with clients. But God, they flipping treat it like a toy. I'm like, do I need to buy you all your own mic? I almost feel like that would kind of be hilarious. Even just to let them, they've taken also my son's mic. But again, I digress. So I was going to do a little podcast segment cooking with Heidi, but really I was having girl dinner. I had ramen tonight because the boys were out. I really just didn't want to cook anything for myself, and I'm leaving in a couple days to go on vacation with my mom and sister. So by the time this airs, I will be on vacation with my mom and sister. We'll see if I survive. I'm kidding. I love my mother. I love my sister. However, I have not spent a lot of time with them contained in a really tiny little 10-foot by 5-foot square room. I don't even know. It's probably a little bit bigger than that. But I've not spent a lot of time with them in a small, confined space, especially on a ship where you can't get off. I was telling someone recently, and this is another digression, I apologize. The last time I really went on vacation with my mom and sister, which is why it's such a big deal that this trip is coming up, my family could not afford vacations when I was growing up. Well, my mother certainly couldn't. She kind of could when I was in college when she started dating, but she couldn't afford for me to go. And her first big vacation was when I was probably was I a junior? Yeah, I was a junior because it was right before I came to DC for my internship. And she went to Disney with the man that she was dating and his kids and some of their friends. And she was like, hey, if you want to come, you got to pay for yourself. And I had a work study job that barely paid for me to eat and drink. I did not have enough money to fly on down to Florida for Thanksgiving. That wasn't happening. But that was, one of the only times that I ever was invited on vacation. And my mom and sister certainly came down. They went out to Maine, and I took the train up to Maine to meet them once. So that was really one of the last times that I ever went on vacation with my mom and sister was going to Maine when I was in college for a long weekend, probably when I was in summer and had Fridays off. So this trip coming up is a huge deal. My mom had a really terrible year last year, if you know, you know. And so she decided that she wanted to pay for the three of us to go on vacation. So we are going on a cruise. I've never cruised before. This is BFD. Anyhow, I completely forget where I was going. That I think I was starting to talk about a segment that I was going to do, which was cooking with Heidi with my little microphone. But then my phone wasn't set up, and I was like, if I'm going to do this, I should do it so that I can post it on YouTube and, multi-purpose. Anyhow. So there's my anecdote, my digression, my sidebar, all of the fun things. And I'm probably oversharing. My husband would probably listen to this and he'd probably be like, you're saying too much. You're saying too much. Because, as a candidate, I do filter myself, and most of what I put out to the world usually goes through at least one layer of approval, because my husband's like, I don't want you to get attacked or whatever. Because I am a millennial who, was in her 20s in the age of LiveJournal. So I notoriously overshare. But anyhow. So we talked about the comparison trap. And we talked about, these metrics that don't really define anything that's yeah, you can tie your follower growth back to brand awareness 100%. And you can tie your comments, especially if you're using a tool like ManyChat for automation. You can tie that back to lead generation, especially if you're like an online business. But these are kind of like those micro conversions. These are kind of those like proof of trust kind of things. And so here's what you're going to track instead. One, like you always track your website traffic from social media. Like one, you want to make sure that your website's actually driving traffic, right? Or like track some other way that you know that people are coming in from social media, whether it's DMs, whether it's your Google Analytics, whether you have like a custom telephone number that's just for social media traffic that you use on social media. I have a client that does that. Like you want to make sure that somehow you are tracking a way to see how successful your social media is. Not those likes, not just followers. Although, if you really do want to track followers, here's what I would do instead. Here's a little hot take, like get your pencil out, pencil and paper. So if you're going to do that, and this is something that I learned really working with Lauren Najar, and I'm going to link to her because she is a lead generation genius. And this is something that I try to do and I fall in and out of habit because it's not automated. I really need to automate it. And it's one of those things that I just like haven't had the time to do because again, I take care of my clients first. But when someone follows you, you can always set up an automation like, hey, thanks for the follow, blah, blah, blah. What are you looking for by being here? Or, I have a client who has a Facebook group and she invites them to her Facebook group because that's part of her funnel. When someone follows you, like, how are you moving them down the funnel? And we'll have to do a whole separate episode on your funnel. I've had so many conversations about this and just the things that I am like completely and utterly missing in my funnel, which is, but it's funny because I started to talk about when I was recording down in the kitchen, because I did record about 5 minutes. Maybe it'll show up in a blooper reel sometime. You might get to see this part where I sprayed Oriental ramen seasoning all over myself. But it's worth it to put the people that follow you or like the people that regularly engage with your content into your lead tracker and start engaging with them. Like, how can you get them more into your world? I'll have to link to the episode with Lauren because it was so good and she talked so much about this. But that is how you can really kind of push your social media to work for you, right? I'm not giving you like all the lead gen tips here, but I am talking at the end of this month in the Leading Lady Business Hub about how to do lead gen for social media, whether it's through automation, whether it's through tracking on your lead tracker, all these kind of things. We're going to talk about some of these tips and tricks on how to actually like make sure that your social media is driving you leads. So those are kind of like the micro conversions, those proof of trust, all of those fun things. But ultimately, like we don't want to be a numbers chaser. We don't want to get down on ourselves because, I only got 5 followers this month. Womp. Like, and then they're done that. Although, like, I was really proud of myself on my campaign account because I got like 90 followers. I'm doing something right. I'm like, hey, if I could just do this for all my clients, like that would be amazing. I have another client who recently went viral. Like, oh my God, y'all. Again, going viral doesn't nothing except for 300 shitty comments. So here's how we're going to stop chasing the numbers. We want to make sure that our content has a purpose. And, I saw this hot take on social media, and I'll have to do another episode on this itself, about how so many people on social media just aren't following best practices anymore, and they're like getting really good results. So let's throw out the rule book. Let's throw out the pillars of engagement, entertainment, and conversion. Like those pillars, like, no. People want to relate to people. People know, even when you're a brand, that there are people behind the brand. When they go to social media, they want connection. They don't want to be the how-to content, chuck it out the window. I mean, there's still a space for the how-to content, but instead of saying like the how-to, like, here's how I did this, or here's how our team does this, things like that are going to resonate so much more. And this is what I mean, like content with a purpose. Like you want your content to connect with people because people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. Another mic drop moment. Boom. You need calls to action that match your stage of awareness. So, like, you're not gonna, God, was I on the hub today listening to a call where we talked about how you can't just invite someone to dinner when you first meet them. You need to invite them to lunch. Lunch first, right? Coffee first. Like, if someone is just coming into your account and you're putting out something relatable, like, you want to ask, like, especially if you know that your reels get a lot of non-followers, maybe you don't want to say on your reels, like, hey, schedule a call. Maybe on your reels, the call to action is follow me for more blah, blah, blah. Follow me for more hot take social media advice that doesn't follow a rule book. That's my energy for 2026. I'm not following any rule books. No rule books. We're throwing them all out. Stop posting for accolades. Stop posting for, stop just posting for the likes. Stop just posting for engagement, right? We don't just want to post for the likes or for the comments. Like, you want to post for outcomes. So you want to post for those followers, and then you want to have the automated message that invites your followers into whatever your funnel is. Like, hey, download this piece or join me in my Facebook group, whatever it is, right? Screw the likes, screw the comments, because I bet you 5 times out of 10, if you go back, chances are the people that are commenting aren't always going to be your customers, right? And I say this because my client who recently went viral, literally 90% of the comments on a reel that got 200,000 views, weren't their target audience. I mean, yes, because they like to hire, but they also don't care about other people in their industry, right? So be mindful of that. Be mindful of who is commenting and who you're attracting, and start posting for those outcomes. People who are going to follow you should want to hear from you. And they should be in that, okay, I think I trust this person, or hey, I like what this person is putting together. I want to hear more. And as they hear more, you're going to want to give them the opportunities to learn more about you, to get them into your funnel, to learn more. And eventually they'll want to have dinner with you and set up a call or whatever, work with you. So anyhow, whether you have 10 followers or 100 followers, 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers, you are not behind, because you know what? Anyone can buy 10,000 followers. And I say this because I have seen social media managers who literally have 15, almost 20,000 followers, but they get 2 comments and maybe 5 likes. And that's a surefire way for me to know that you bought followers. And that is so 2019. 2019, people bought followers, and they were kind of punished for it, but not entirely. But now we don't purchase followers. So you're not behind. You have to understand the intricacies of your audience and how they use social media, right? I kind of mentioned earlier, some of my clients just aren't the type of businesses where people are actively going to follow them. They might save some of their posts, might save them for later. But, I have another client who is they're a personal injury attorney, and people don't need them until they really, really need them. So getting followers is a little bit harder for us. So be mindful of that. If you're listening to this, I would love to talk to you. If you feel like you just need an audit of your social media, or if you're looking for a little bit of coaching on your content, I do have some consulting spots open, and I will be reopening my masterclass. It's going to go from early April until mid-May, and I kind of revamped it. So it's going to be kind of almost like a group consulting program. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. My beta test masterclass last year was fine. I enjoyed it, but I didn't have my organization where I wanted it to be. So now I'm taking the time to really, really get organized. So that is coming up starting in April. So the doors should be opening probably right when I get back from my trip within the next week or 2. So I'm going to put the link to get on the wait list if you're interested in joining. And until next time, go forth, create amazing content, makes you relatable, that makes people want to stick around and watch your content, and makes them want to work with you. They need to have that. That's how we stop the scroll. Till next time, go forth, leave a review if you love what you're hearing. Follow me at Heidi Schmidt Creative for more social media hot takes that don't follow any rule books. Bye for now.